Hello and welcome to the Wealth Channel. I'm Christella Lewis and I'm joined by Julie Ragatz, Director of the Center for Ethics in Financial Services. Welcome, Julie.
It's good to be with you today, Christella.
Today we're discussing being your own Chief Ethics Officer. What is a Chief Ethics Officer?
That's a really good question, and it's a relatively new position. It's often called the alternative CEO, right? Mm-hmm. Chief Executive Officer, Chief Ethics Officer. But the Chief Ethics Officer at an organization, and usually you find them at larger organizations such as Fortune 500 companies, is primarily responsible for I'd say about two main tasks. One is promulgating ethics throughout the organization, and that can take the form of developing ethics codes, facilitating conversations about ethics, and then the second is being kind of an ombudsman or having an open-door policy for ethics. So if you have a concern about an ethical issue anywhere in the organization, whether that's in finance or production or if you're in a manufacturing area, manufacturing, that you can come to this one person who's been identified as the person to hear the ethics concerns from this company.
And what does it mean to be your own Chief Ethics Officer?
Well, you know what's interesting, Christella? I've talked to a number of of executives and lead decision makers in the financial services industry. And one of the things I discovered was that when I mentioned, do you have a Chief Ethics Officer? I was surprised at how much I got. I'm the Chief Ethics Officer. I'm the CEO, and I am the Chief Ethics Officer. And I don't want to have someone else who has that role. I don't want to delegate those responsibilities. I want to be the figurehead for ethics in this company. When people think about who to go to, I want them to go to me. So what I think it means is to say for the CEO or decision maker or department head or what have you, to say, the buck stops here and I am your ethics resource. So I'm responsible, not somebody else, for doing those two things we talked about before. Promulgating ethics throughout the organization, and then being the person people can go to if they have ethical concerns.
Are there any benefits of being a Chief Ethics Officer?
I think there are. And I have to say, when I kind of first heard some decision makers tell me that, I was like, well, why wouldn't you take the opportunity to kind of have this independent office, maybe have your own resource stream? Why wouldn't you take the chance to kind of really develop this into its own division and its own office? And then the more I thought about it, I said, there are really advantages to being your own Chief Ethics Officer. Now, most companies don't have the resources of a Fortune 500 company. And so most people, especially people who have their own agencies, people who run their own business, don't have the option of bringing somebody in. So the first benefit, obviously, is you're saving resources. Right. The second benefit, I would say, is that you have a real opportunity to make yourself visible as a leader and proponent of ethics. So you can kind of say, this is my job. This is what it means to be a chief executive. And what it means to be a chief executive is to be the ethical leader. And I think that's a really powerful message.
Right. Why is it important to the financial services industry?
Oh, my goodness. Well, if you look at the financial services industry, and I think that especially leading up to 2008, I think with the financial crisis and coming out of the crisis to the extent that the American economy has come out of the crisis, which I think is not as great as we all would have hoped, I think what you have is a crisis of confidence among the American population in the financial services industry. And it's an interesting crisis of confidence, Christella, because when you talk to consumers of financial products, what you hear is, they're all a bunch of crooks, but my insurance agent's great. Or all those people up there who run those companies are terrible, but the guy who runs my 401k is really wonderful. So I think you see this kind of, this macro level distrust, but this micro level trust and faith.
Right.
And I think that anything the financial services industry can do to publicly recommit itself to ethics, to make a visible statement saying, at this company, we care about ethics. At this company, we're interested in promoting ethics. At this company, I'm going to invest my resources as Chief Executive Officer into ethics. I think that's a very powerful message if you publicize it, not only for the consuming public, but also for the morale of your employees.
Right. Julie, thanks for joining us today.
It was good to be with you, Christella.
I'm Christella Lewis, and thanks for watching the Wealth Channel.